Hi, this is Cheryl Walji from Astral Connections, and here with me I have Rick Hanson. Rick Hanson is known as the Runes Man. Tell me a little bit about runes and your passion of runes, and tell me a little bit about how you got into them, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, Cheryl, it's a matter of I've been working with the runes for about 26 years now. So I first saw them demonstrated down in Cloverdale at the what was then the Fraser Valley Psychic Society. One of the local readers, a lady named Gloria Bruff, demonstrated the runes, and something just sort of gave me a little tap at the back of the head telling me this is something to look into. So picked up a few books, started working with them, picked up a set of runes, started reading for myself, and after a few months I started getting asked by people to read for them, and so I did that on a
that quickly, huh?
Yeah, and it's a matter of a few years later I got nagged into setting up at a little fair down in Crescent Beach, and the rest is history. I started carving runes a few years after that, and
now you have your own runes.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So before that, tell me a little bit about your childhood and your education and your life in general.
Good question. Basically, your standard BC education. I went through the local school system. I was an avid reader. I would would read just about anything I could get my hands on.
I'm like that too.
And have been somewhat of a student of comparative religions over the years. Around the time, a few months before I started working with the runes, I enrolled in a meditation class down with White Rock Community Ed. One of the local readers, it turned out, was doing a course on that. I was doing that more for stress reduction, but she also had us working with pendulums, tarot, and that sort of thing. Okay. So,
did you, as a child, did you find yourself gifted, or?
Didn't particularly see myself as gifted. Every once in a while, you notice something a little bit weird, but it's a matter of that was never really developed in my family. My mother, when she was younger, and my aunt used to read teacups, and my mother sort of put them away when she hit a little too close to home a few times on readings.
So your aunt used to read teacups?
My aunt used to read teacups in Edmonton. It was kind of funny because she was working in a tea house when she was a kid, and she'd come out, pardon me, and a customer would want a reading, so she'd be the waitress, bring out the teacup, put the teacup down, and Madam whatever will be out to see you in a few minutes, and she'd run back into the back, put on the little scarf, change her outfit, take off the apron, come back out, do the reading, and they never clued in, pardon me, clued into the fact that the girl that had given them the cup of tea as a waitress was the one doing the reading.
Wow.
My aunt always found that was a little bit of a hoot.
And as a child, you witnessed this, I guess.
I saw my mother doing it to a degree in that, and we never really, we were curious about it, but she never really showed us how to do it.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit now, as you were learning about the runes, what was it about the runes that really attracted you?
Well, there's a number of things about the runes that I really like. First of all, I'm Scandinavian in ancestry, Swedish on both sides, so there's that tie-in with it. And it's also a matter that the runes, I found, having worked with pendulum, having worked with tarot and that, they're mostly visual, whereas the runes appeal to just about every sense. I mean, there is the visual part on the runes. They're very, I find the symbols very simple and elegant.
Looks like an S to me.
Yeah, that is. But there's also the auditory aspect to it. They've got a nice heft to them. This is a particularly large set, but they have a nice heft to them. Also, just the sound they make when they're clattering around in the bag, and that. So it appeals to X number of senses. So it's just something I like. Plus,
are these ones you made yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can
I see those again?
Sure.
So these are all symbols. These don't look like letters anymore.
Yeah, well, they are.
Well, those are my initials.
Well, it's interesting because some of them look like English language letters, but you got to remember that, okay, the runes themselves, they're a set of symbols, they have a phonetic value, they can be used as written communication, but it's a different language. It's not the same. Some of the symbols are very similar to English language letters. Like this one has the phonetic value of S.
Right.
This one that looks like an M actually has the phonetic value of E.
Oh, wow.
That one there that looks like a little fish perhaps is the equivalent of a letter O. And this one is the Z sound. Has the phonetic value of Z.
Okay. And so I often wonder, like, when these things were being made,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no such thing as paper at the time.
No.
So so it was a form of communication in a sense.
The runes are derived from pictographs, actually. There's a
Right.
type of script called Halrustnagar script. If you were to Google it, you could see it's very much like cave paintings and stuff and such. And they were carved into the faces of rock, into the, onto trees, cut onto wood and that, inscribed on tool handles and that. And the runes were likewise used in that way. That's why most of the runic symbols are rather angular. They're all straight lines for the most part. There are no round, no round circles in that because they were carved into rock, they were carved into wood.
Right. And I was talking to somebody who, I don't know if you concur with this or not, but they were suggesting the idea that these were actually energy positions or body stances, and not just letters, and they all hold a certain energy pattern when exercised in that way in the body.
Yeah. Well, first of all, each of the runes has its own particular energy, its own frequency of energy, which I find makes them very useful for working on healing specific afflictions and or injuries. For myself, I cut about 3 to 4 weeks off the time that I was in a cast for a knee injury, drawing runes on the symbol, runic symbols at certain key points, because it's sort of like it fine points the type of energy that specific area needs. Now, for the yoga postures and stuff, back between the turn of the last century, the 1900s to about the 1940s, there was actually a practice of runic yoga in which people would either together.
There was an actual practice.
They were called stadas, S-T-A-D-H-A.
Okay.
And for various reasons, they would, take the position like the S rune. Two people would form, either the rune of the self or the H rune to generate that sort of energy. That was partly for, like working with yoga, for getting energy flowing, and also parts of some ceremonial magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're presenting at Astral, and you're going to continue to present at Astral, and I wanted to know if you could tell the audience a little bit about what they could expect in a presentation on runes.
Well, basically, a person's going to get a brief overview of the runes, like the origins, both mythically and historically, of where the runes come from, how they've been used, because the runes have been used not only for divination, they've also been used for healing and for empowerment of persons, places, and objects, and how we can apply them in today's life. One of the things is when I set up at some fairs, I've been approached by a reenactment society periodically to, show up with them, set up my table with them, but they want me to dress in costume. The problem I have with that is that puts across the message it's like a museum piece. It's like it's not relevant anymore. And my attitude is the approach I take with working with the runes is how to use them, now in this century.
Practically, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
How to use them in your life. I use them in my life to a fair degree, and it's a matter of, I find they're a useful tool. It's not just one, the only way you can approach, but it's a good tool to use in your life.
So give me an example of a way in which you use it in your life, then.
Okay, one thing I will do, I'll just take this one back and just show you. Basically, if I'm going into a situation where, I'm expecting, some sort of a challenge, a personal challenge, like
Anxiety,
if I'm in my day job, like if I'm going in on a unit with a difficult patient because I work in nursing in my day job, I may just, before starting the day, just reach into the bag and ask for a stone for what sort of energy you'd be running to make the day go smoother. And this one came out. This one's the rune of Thorn. This one is known as Thorn. It's known as Gateway. It's a rune of decision making. It's just a reminder of knowing that there are always decisions you can make. Just a matter of keeping in mind that not getting myself stuck in the idea that, okay, I'm going in, this is the only way I can deal with this person.
Right. Wow, okay.
So I just keep that one in mind. I'll usually draw it on my hand, just as a little reminder of what, of what it is I want to, keep in my head.
Mind today.
Yeah, and use it for that for an approach.
And so would you do that every day, or
just when I feel
just
the need?
when you feel like
yeah.
it? Okay.
It's sort of like the thing is the runes are a tool to use, not a crutch as such. There's a lot of people that'll, take out the I Ching. They'll do this, they'll do that, just to see what they can do for their entire day, and it's a matter of that's becoming dependent on something outside of you. And this is really something to work with. It just helps you work with what you've got.
So, would you also be going through the history of the runes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The history of the runes have been around for a minimum of 2,000 years. The earliest account of them being used was in 99 AD by a Roman named Tacitus as he was traveling through northern Europe. As such, the runes were in common use at that time, so they were developed prior to that. I've had people argue that the runes are 5,000 years old.
Wow.
There's that possibility, but it's a matter of I'm willing to go between 2,000 and 3,000 years for the age on them.
Right.
So.
Wow. So they don't go older than that, you don't believe?
They may. It's just a matter of this whole idea that
Verifying
these
it.
are definitely, 10,000 years old or 20,000 years old. That's the problem I have with a lot of people that are just adamant about
about dating things.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, is there anything else you want to share with the audience? Anything I left out, maybe?
I'm trying to think for a second on this, and it's a matter of I've enjoyed working with the runes for over 25 years, and it's still a matter of feeling like I'm almost just at the beginning of it. I've met some people with 50, 60 years of experience with the runes, and they feel similar to it. So it's something you're never going to
Exhaustion possibility.
Exactly. It's also something you're not going to learn in about 15 minutes. That's the one caution I make when I teach with the runes. Right. It's a matter of really with working with it. It's going to take a little bit of time and a little of that 4-letter word work for it. But it's it's very rewarding. It's it has a useful place in your it has a useful place in your life, I think.
Right.
And not much else I can say about it.
So would you say you could do pretty much anything with the runes that a psychic does with tarot cards or any other device?
In some ways I find it more versatile simply because the symbols are so simple. Because like if you were using tarot imagery, you would really have to...
It goes into specifics.
It's the symbols are so complex. Like if you're using them for healing, so it would be hard to envision it, whereas a symbol like the wholeness rune here is very easy to grasp in the mind. You can picture it as sending that energy to a person, seeing them surrounded by that energy, or for your own self, drawing the symbol on a part which needs that particular energy. So the simplicity of the runes really adds to their versatility.
How would one determine that?
Basically, if a person was to be working, this is how I cut a few weeks off of being in a cast. Actually, just drew a number of stones from the bag for each point along where I had the cast. I had a knee injury about 20 years ago, and it was a matter of for each point I just drew one stone. I'm not going to put all of the stones in the bag, just
because I emptied them all.
Yeah, but it's a matter, say the joy rune came out for, say on a wrist injury, just for this point, I'd be asking for a specific point, like, what would be a good energy to focus on for this point, and then I would draw a stone out, and like, for this one, possibly the B rune, and then I would just draw it on there, and it's a matter of drawing this symbol on. It doesn't do the work, but it's a reminder of the sort of energy you want to focus on that.
Right.
That's the key for it. The runes are a tool. They're not
The energy,
to
they're there to remind you of the energy.
exactly. You're still the one doing the work. It's like what I tell people with doing readings. It's like with the glasses I wear. The glasses focus light, but it's still my eyes that do the seeing.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the runes. The runes are a tool, and tarot is a tool. Pendulums are a tool. Even, holding something in psychometry, it's a matter of that in a way is a tool, because you're basically getting impressions from it.
Right.
And it depends, and it depends on the work that the reader does.
Wow. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed our talk.
Good.